The story opens in September 1939, when Nazi Germany invades Poland and seizes its western territories. Jewish families are forced into special ghettos after rumors spread about mass deportations in the east. In this occupied western region, a death camp called Chomno is established. Jews who are considered weak are killed immediately, while those still strong enough to work are forced into brutal labor, digging the very pits that will become mass graves for their own people. On January 19, 1942, in the Chomno camp, we meet three Jewish forced laborers, Wolf, Goldman, and Lenz. They have been ordered to dig a huge pit that will soon become a mass grave for their fellow prisoners. Days of torment and exhaustion have pushed them to the edge. Among them, Wolf looks the most restless, but he is also the bravest. He cannot bear it any longer and quietly starts to plan an escape. While digging, Wolf deliberately breaks his shovel to attract the attention of a Nazi guard. He knows exactly how dangerous this is, but he does it anyway. As expected, he is beaten for it. At the same time, Lenz uses the distraction to retrieve something they had hidden earlier. The only sharp object they have, a small tool that might be able to open a path to freedom. Before the pit is finished, the work suddenly stops. A guard announces that a new group of Jews is about to arrive. Wolf and the others are ordered to leave the gravesite and prepare to help receive the incoming prisoners. On the way to the arrival area, Wolf uses the moment to quietly share his plan. That night, he intends to escape by cutting through one side of the canvas cover on a transport truck. His two other friends, Solomon and Michael, think the plan is far too reckless and dangerous. In their eyes, there is nothing left to hope for and nowhere truly safe to run. Wolf stays firm. He says he will head toward the area of Grabow, where there is still a Jewish camp that has not been fully taken over. He also knows someone there, a man called Rabbi, someone he believes might help them escape or at least offer shelter. Michael is still unsure. He fears that if they try to escape, their failure will bring disaster on everyone else. If they are caught, the entire work crew could be executed in punishment. When they arrive at the transit point for the newly arrived Jews, a Nazi sergeant begins to watch the three men closely. He thinks they are talking too much among themselves, as if they are hiding something. The sergeant warns them not to do anything foolish if they do not want to throw their lives away. Soon after, Wolf, Solomon, and Michael prepare to receive the new arrivals. Their job is to sort through the belongings of the prisoners who have just come in. A truck pulls up, carrying dozens of Jewish men, women, and children. They are greeted with a smile by a sergeant named Lang. With a soft tone and practiced kindness, he thanks them, pretending they are making a noble sacrifice for the war effort. He promises proper housing, warm food, and a chance to begin a new life. One by one, their valuables are taken away, with the false promise that everything will be returned once their work is done. As the prisoners are led into a building, an old man recognizes Solomon. The man approaches him and asks about his son. Solomon freezes. He cannot bring himself to tell the truth. Instead, he denies knowing the man and says he does not know where his son is. Inside the building, Wolf spots a pencil lying on a table. He quickly slips it under his shirt before anyone notices. Meanwhile, the new arrivals are ordered to remove their clothes and change into thin white uniforms. A few minutes later, they are pushed into a sealed truck. From the outside, a large hose is connected to the back of the vehicle, the device used to pump exhaust fumes into the closed compartment. As the truck begins to move, Wolf, Solomon, and Michael follow behind it. Along the way, they can hear screams from inside, mixed with panic and desperate cries for help. The passengers have no idea they are being slowly killed by the poisoned air filling the small space. Halfway through the journey, the truck breaks down. For a moment, everything stops. Seeing a slight opening, Wolf tries to slip a small knife into Solomon's hand, but Solomon, overwhelmed with fear, refuses to take it. The truck is repaired, and the journey continues until they reach the burial site. When the doors swing open, the truck is silent. Everyone inside has died. This is the world will tremble. The guards order Wolf, Solomon, and Michael to drag the bodies into the large pit they had dug earlier. In the middle of the grim task, Michael suddenly freezes. He sees a familiar face in the pile of victims, his own daughter. The shock breaks him, and in his grief, he even challenges the Nazi guards to kill him too. After the burials are complete, the group heads back toward the camp. On the way, they witness a prisoner being caught while trying to escape. He is executed on the spot, a brutal warning to anyone thinking of doing the same. When they finally return, they are given a piece of dry bread and a bowl of watery soup, the only meal they receive every 2 days. This is how they are kept alive, while the Nazi guards enjoy food in abundance. As they eat, Wolf brings up his escape plan again. He explains that they will cross the river and head toward Grabow, but Lenz interrupts, saying the river will be frozen solid in January. Their only real option is to take the main road. He also warns them not to trust too many locals during the escape, since many people in the region work with the Nazis. Before they finish their meal, the guards line them up. Lang and the sergeant raise their hands in the Nazi salute. Each time the sergeant flips his hand, the prisoners must stand and squat repeatedly. During the movement, Lenz panics. His hidden knife slips from his clothing and falls to the ground. Believing Lenz was planning to escape, Lang executes him immediately without hesitation. The cruelty does not end there. Lang then forces the prisoners to celebrate the killing. He brings in a violinist and a young dancer. The violinist is ordered to play while the girl is pushed to dance among terrified prisoners. In the tension and fear of that moment, a Nazi general begins playing with his weapon. Without warning, a shot goes off and the bullet hits the dancer. She dies instantly, another innocent life taken for nothing. Not long after, Lang gathers the prisoners again and turns them into live targets. Each person is forced to hold a glass bottle above their head while the guards take aim. One by one, they stand there trembling as bullets fly past them. Some manage to escape injury, but eventually Wolf's turn arrives. The shot hits him in the neck. As he collapses, bleeding heavily and struggling to breathe, he reaches for the pencil he has been hiding all this time and slips it into Solomon's hand. It is his final message, a silent plea for Solomon to carry on their mission. The brutal scene strengthens Solomon's resolve. Using nothing more than a shard of glass he has kept hidden, he decides he will find a way out of this nightmare. That night, speaking quietly but with full determination, he shares his escape plan with the entire work crew. At first, even the older man they call Goldman refuses. He warns them about the many escape attempts that failed and ended in brutal executions. Fear still grips him, and hope feels too distant to believe in. But Solomon's conviction never wavers. He explains that he is not only running for his own life, but also carrying the names of those who have died there, people forgotten and buried without a prayer or a marker. He wants the world to know what the Nazis have done. His words move the others. Slowly, one by one, they begin handing him the names of their loved ones, written on scraps of worn paper. Fathers, mothers, siblings, children, friends. For them, this escape is no longer just an attempt to survive. It is a statement that the truth cannot stay buried forever. The next morning, they are loaded onto a transport truck for another day of digging mass graves. Inside the truck, Solomon prepares to act. Sensing the danger, Goldman steps in to help. He pretends to ask a guard for a cigarette, drawing attention away. Another worker follows his lead, adding to the distraction. In that brief opening, Solomon tears open one side of the truck's canvas and leaps out, with Michael jumping right behind him. They sprint toward the forest as gunshots burst behind them. The guards fire repeatedly, but the two men keep running. They soon reach a fast-moving river and throw themselves into the water. Michael cries out as he hits the surface, while Solomon lands badly and breaks his leg on impact. With Michael wounded by a bullet and Solomon unable to walk properly, both men struggle forward, desperate to keep moving despite their injuries. On their way through the forest, Solomon and Michael come face to face with a lone wolf. For a moment, the animal blocks their path, but it quickly turns away when it senses a group of German soldiers passing nearby. The two men seize the chance to hide, holding their breath as fear settles heavily in their chests. When the area finally goes quiet, they push forward again. After a long walk, they come across a small isolated house. Exhausted, they sneak into the animal shed behind it to rest for a moment. They do not realize the house belongs to a Nazi sergeant and his wife, who arrives home on a motorcycle at that very moment. While they hide in the shed, the sergeant's wife unexpectedly discovers them. Startled, they try to run, convinced she will scream or alert her husband. But instead of turning them in, she does the opposite. She shows them compassion, she keeps their presence a secret, and even helps them escape. She gives them the old railway uniform that once belonged to her late husband, so they can disguise themselves. Then without hesitation, she offers the sergeant's motorcycle, allowing them to flee as far and as fast as possible. During their escape, they suddenly encounter a crashed truck carrying Jewish prisoners. Nazi soldiers are scattered around the scene, trying to take control of the situation. A sergeant on duty shouts for their help in evacuating the victims. He becomes suspicious when he notices their injuries. Solomon calmly explains that they were hit by stray bullets during an assignment. The answer convinces the sergeant enough that he calls a military doctor to check Michael's wound. After a quick examination, the sergeant requests that Michael join their group. Solomon stands firm and refuses, insisting that they are on an urgent assignment and must continue immediately. The sergeant hesitates but eventually allows them to leave, not wanting to waste more time. With their hearts pounding and every second feeling like a gamble, they ride away as fast as they can, fully aware that even the smallest mistake could end everything. After a long and dangerous journey, they finally reach Grabow, the place Wolf once mentioned as their goal, the place where Rabbi lives. Although Grabow is also under Nazī control, the Jews there are not treated as brutally as in Chomno. There are no mass killings or extermination operations, but the atmosphere is still filled with fear and suspicion. They carefully approach a house and beg the man inside to take them to Rabbi. The man is tense and cautious, but he quickly pulls them in before any guards notice. When he learns they came from Chomno, he nervously asks if they have seen his son who was sent to work there. Solomon and Michael exchange a brief glance, then shake their heads saying they do not know him. They ask to be taken to Rabbi's home. To reach it, they must move quietly through the village, keeping to the shadows and avoiding the Nazī patrols that roam the streets. After slipping past several homes, Solomon and Michael finally reach the house they have been searching for. They knock, and Rabbi opens the door. He is startled at first, but quickly ushers them inside. One look at their faces and torn clothing tells him they are in serious trouble. Without asking for details, he gives them warm food and calls a doctor to treat their injuries. When they are strong enough to speak, Solomon and Michael tell him everything. They explain that they came from Chomno, a place designed by the Nazis for one purpose: to exterminate Jews. Solomon describes how hundreds, even thousands, were killed in sealed trucks filled with poison gas, then buried in mass graves they themselves were forced to dig. They have come with one hope: to ask Rabbi to help spread the truth to the outside world. Rabbi hesitates. He has never witnessed such brutality in Grabow. To him, it sounds like a terrifying rumor that might put the entire community at risk. As far as he knows, the Nazis here have not shown the same cruelty. Taking action could endanger everyone. Frustrated and emotional, Solomon reaches for a folded list, the names of the people he buried with his own hands. His hands tremble as he holds it out. Rabbi looks down at the list, and the room falls into silence. His eyes begin to fill with tears as he grasps the reality of what is happening beyond Grabow. What he thought was safety may only be a pause before disaster reaches them too. With a breaking voice, Solomon begs him to help. Only Rabbi has the connections and influence to get this truth out. Only he can reach the outside world. This time, Rabbi's heart gives way. He asks Solomon to tell him everything in full detail. Solomon takes out the dull pencil he carried all the way from Chomno and begins writing, but his hands shake too much to continue. Rabbi gently takes over and tells Solomon to speak while he writes. Together, they shape a testimony that will become one of the first true accounts of what the Nazis were doing in secret. When the story is complete, Rabbi promises to take it to the Jewish community, who will bring it to London, where people will not remain silent after hearing such horror. Solomon's testimony becomes the first eyewitness account of the Nazi mass exterminations to reach the world, carried through the Jewish underground. It is smuggled to London and broadcast by the BBC on June 26, 1942, becoming the first news report of what would later be known as the Holocaust. After Chomno's first use of gas vans, the Nazis quickly shift to even larger and more systematic killing methods, building gas chambers in extermination camps like Treblinka and Auschwitz. Shortly after Solomon and Michael leave Grabow, the remaining Jews in the town are rounded up and sent to Chomno. Rabbi and the entire community he tried to protect are killed by gas soon after arriving. Solomon manages to escape Grabow for a time, searching for any surviving relatives, but he is eventually captured and sent to Belzec, where he is killed by gas in April 1942. Michael survives the war. He hides on a farm in Poland until liberation, then moves to Israel, where he remarries and raises 2 children. In 1962, he faces the guards of Chomno once again, not as a prisoner, but as a key witness in their trials in Germany. So the moral of the story is that even in the darkest places, the truth still matters, and someone has to carry it so the world never forgets.